Okay, I'm just going to keep on working on the sphere, analyzing edges, and rambling through the whole thing. But I'm just slowly building up the values that I'm seeing in the core shadow, getting it as dark as I can, and trying to get this edge as clean as I possibly can. So right now it's just a little hair messy. Working on smoothing things out, changing in little tiny directions. And I'm starting to get into the half tone right now, so I'm going to start changing my pencils, maybe to a 2B. We'll see how that goes. Releasing my pressure on the pencil. I feel like I'm doing an ASMR video right now. Maybe I should whisper the directions to everybody. So just remember the half tone. Oh, I'm looking at this image while I'm drawing. I'm not, being blind about it, but I just remember that half tone is lighter than the reflected light. So that means I need to, right now they're about the same value. So that means I need to tone this down just a little bit. No, by a lot actually. Let's see, I'm going to move to 6B or 4B pencil just to tone it down. Continue moving in, little circles, changing directions, trying to get the shading as smooth as I can. And usually, like once I get the values down, I start dot picking. Let's see. So this is kind of an interesting sphere. It gets really dark in the core shadow, and the core shadow starts to lighten a lot at the end. And so I'm just observing that as I go. Something you want to be careful about as you are working on your sphere is just be aware of overblending. And I had an example of that. This is one of the painting students where they overblended, and it's hard to distinguish where the core shadow is and where the light is in reflected light. And so there's still a shape technically, but they're still very smooth as you're going. I'm starting to get some nice form right there. Ooh, I like that. Okay. But it's kind of struggling in this area. I think I'm going to use my kneaded eraser to just lighten that up just a bit. This sphere is going to be working up to our last assignment, which is I want you guys to draw an eye. But that's not for a while, so just focus on the sphere. But the eye and the sphere are very, well, an eyeball basically is a spherical object sitting in wrapped around a bunch of skin is what it is. And when you guys start looking at the eye, I want you to think about those same things we're learning here. Like, where do you see the cast shadows? Where do you see the highlights and halftones? Because they're there. Okay, I'm wondering if I can start putting in some background over here. Get those edges, sharp edges. Keep on yawning. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know about everyone else, but I've been having crazy dreams since this pandemic started. And I think the best one I've had was a bunch of Santa Clauses fighting with broomsticks. There had to be at least 20 of them swinging broomsticks at each other. I have no idea why it entered my head, but yeah. Or rabid deer chasing after me. So I'm getting into an area of the background that is, well, some of the values are starting to get really close to the values that are happening in the sphere. And when you run into those places, you're making decisions as an artist of if one value is really, really close to another, and you're going to lose that edge, you have to make a decision of what you're going to lighten and what you're going to darken just a little bit, just so you don't lose it completely, unless you do want that lost edge. So I know I'm getting really close to the same value right here. This value of the sphere is getting way close to the same as the value in the background. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to darken the background a little bit more than what I actually see. Excuse me, so I don't lose that edge. That's just getting a wee bit too confusing right here. I'm still not liking it. Okay. Maybe I need to lighten this. Oh, actually, that's not bad if I lighten that just a tad. Okay. Alright, and I just kind of keep on going and going, get lighter and lighter and lighter, etc. Analyzing my values, I still feel like I need to get darker in this area. But usually students get this done 2 to 3 hours roughly, shading the sphere like a good sphere. Some really, really good spheres kids spend more time on. But usually the average is 2 to 3 hours. So 2 to 3 classes, in other words, to get this done. And that's about it. Just smoothing it out, smoothing it out. But we're starting to get some beautiful form happening. I have a nice light side and a nice shadow side, good reflection light. I mean, a lot still needs to be done over here. Your highlight should be the whitest part of your entire picture. That highlight should be the white, the white of the paper. And everything else should be a value darker. I'm going to switch to an HB pencil just to those lighter values. It gets a tad darker on the edge right here, and then it lightens up to the highlight. Sometimes when I'm shading, I get so obsessed with what I'm doing, I forget about the highlight and I shade right over it. And I'm trying not to do that. I'm going to switch to 2H, because I'm getting really light here. And those light values can be really, really hard to smooth out. So I'm just barely glazing my pencil across the surface right now. Thinking about the movement, the direction I'm going. How can I smooth this out without, smudging it? Well, let's see. My video, we're up to 11 minutes. If anything goes over 10 minutes, YouTube has a hard time downloading it. Okay, anyways, I'm getting close to, there's still a lot of work to be done, but we're getting to the end. So I can pick out highlight, halftone, coarse shadow, light, reflected light, cast shadow. I have my sharp edges and soft edges. I still need to work a lot on my soft edges. It's still a little bit scratchy. I have a background shaded. I need to finish the background a little bit over here. And I'm looking at smooth shading. So like I don't want to see little cat scratches like this over here. So I'm still going to have to come back and just kind of shade.